The Valle d'Aosta is a mountain sport paradise in the heart of the Alps, with towering peaks to climb and magical castles to visit. We go in search of Aosta's origins, its craft skills and sacred places, and experience the Valle d'Aosta's taste for tradition. Visitors arriving from Rome along the Via Consolare delle Gallie would enter Aosta through its Augustinian arch. Many travelled this road, as ancient Augusta Praetoria was an important staging post on transalpine journeys. Outside its walls stands one of the Alpine region's most important shrines. The monumental complex of Sant'Orso was once a priory, and the 44-metre Romanesque bell tower still points towards the skies. The cloisters are also Romanesque. The historiated capitals of the arcade columns are unique in northern Italy. Episodes from the Old and New Testaments are carved into Valdostano marble from Aimaville. But more secular themes are also depicted, like scenes from Aesop's fables. Works by the artists welcomed by Giorgio di Chalon adorn the interior of Sant'Orso. The wooden choir stalls are an example of Northern Gothic, with images of saints and prophets on the backs, while the seats are decorated with human forms and representations of allegorically significant beasts. In the 18th century, a group of local artists sculpted Mary Magdalene at the foot of the cross. 1,000 years ago, the crucifix and frescoes decorating the church did not exist. They were rediscovered almost by chance in the loft after remaining hidden for centuries. The cycle is fragmentary and requires research, but this makes it all the more fascinating. It's now possible to study closely episodes from the life of Christ, the martyrs, and saints. More modern streets and houses have grown up within the Roman walls, but traces of the ancient Augusta Praetoria remain, welcoming crowds to the imposing amphitheatre. The main street in the historic centre, named after St. Anselm, follows the Roman Decumanus and opens out into the elegant Piazza Chanou, with its 19th century buildings. The heart of the city is dominated by the two cathedral bell towers. The neoclassical facade contrasts with the original Romanesque structure. Over the centuries, it has absorbed the influence of many architectural styles. The three doors of the atrium are surmounted by painted lunettes and are flanked by tall columns supporting another arcade. The cathedral is a symbol of the bishop's power. The exterior celebrates the office holders of diocesan history, depicted beside the angels. Inside the cathedral, the ambulatory and old chapel of relics preserve a priceless heritage. Since 1985, the cathedral's Museum of Treasures has displayed a large part of the Valle d'Aosta's ecclesiastical art. Several objects are over 1,000 years old. The elegance they have retained through the centuries is strikingly impressive. Others stand out for their wealth of gold, silver, and precious stones. The Cathedral of Aosta was built over the heart of the ancient city. 1,000 years before, the Forum Cryptoporticus had surrounded the temples of the sacred area, its barrel vaults supported by large stone pillars. More than 8,000 spectators line the terraces of the Aosta Arena for the final of the Bataille des Reines. Today, the 3 queens of the Valle d'Aosta will be decided, each in her own category. October has arrived, and autumn means a return to the valley. In the local dialect, the descent from the high pastures is called the Desarpa. Now everyone is eagerly looking forward to an unmissable event that dates back to 1924. Since the 1950s, the Bataille have grown increasingly important in the region, but these titanic struggles are rooted in much older traditions. The aggressive instincts of the cows of the Valle d'Aosta will determine the leadership of the herds. The local patois is the event's official language. For an entire day, the bleachers resound with the results of the combats. Winning or losing is a question of character, not violence. The rules state that the cows must be pregnant, a natural restraint that limits aggression between the prospective mothers. Victory is won through agility and tenacity. The clashes can last a few moments or several minutes, until one of the animals turns her back on her opponent and ceases to take part in the contest. The Queen's prize is a leather collar decorated with a bell. The title of Queen is a testament to the skills of the family she belongs to, and they will hand down their knowledge with pride to new generations. Our journey from Aosta continues towards Monte Bianco, ascending the river Dora Baltea and following its tributaries. Castles appear at rapid intervals, like the fortress that in the Middle Ages belonged to the lords of Quart and counted the Savoy family among its later owners. Later in the 19th century, the Savoys stayed in the private residence of Sarre, which has now become a museum. In more ancient times, before the age of castles, the only roads were those built by the Romans.
Sul territorio abbiamo moltissime
In
testimonianze.
this area, there remain many traces of the powerful, important, significant Roman settlement.
I segni più importanti sono legati alla via consolare.
Of course, the most important traces are linked to the Via Consolare delle Gallie, which connected Eporedia with the borders of the Great and Little San Bernard, across the incredible, perfectly preserved arch of the bridge over the River Lys at Pont Saint-Martin and the slanting bridge of Saint-Vincent,
E in modo particolare va segnalata l'iniziativa di due.
There's also a striking display of the initiative shown by two gentlemen of Padua, Aimo and Avilio, who in 3 BC showed themselves to be entrepreneurs in the modern mould by building a bridge aqueduct at Pondel to carry water, people and of course animals.
E anche delle persone e naturalmente degli animali.
For more than 2,000 years, the 56-metre bridge and aqueduct has spanned the gorge of the Grande Via River, which has carved out the Val di Cogne. Cogne is famous for its craft traditions. The pillow lace pieces, called dentelle, have distinctive patterns that are handed down by local women from mother to daughter.
La dentelle de Cogne è arrivata.
Cogne lace began around the 17th century. And contrary to what happened and still happens in lace production in Belgium and France, Cogne lace makers have continued to create their own pattern in their heads, giving them Franco-Provençal names in patois. Of course, this kind of lace is made on a round lace
Naturalmente
making wheel.
questo tipo di pizzo viene costruito su un tombolo rotondo.
Even the tools they use have a history. The men made them to give to their daughters and fiancées as love tokens. Skilled, nimble hands interweave the bobbins, working the white linen or cotton yarn. The lace is used to embellish tablecloths, sheets, collars and fabrics. There's a museum devoted to the art of dentelle. Cogne is a gateway to Gran Paradiso, Italy's first national park, covering over 70,000 hectares between Valle d'Aosta and Piedmont. At its centre, the Gran Paradiso is the region's only mountain above 4,000 metres, entirely within the Italian border. Its snow-covered slopes dominate areas that in the late 19th and early 20th centuries formed a hunting reserve for the Savoys. The mule trails and hunting lodges built by the royal family remain from these times. But since 1922, the park's 6,000 ibex have ruled alone. These valleys are now a traditional summer destination for the Pope. While the Cogne lace developed in the 17th century, the draps or loom blankets of Val Grisange date back much further. Raw wool has always been used in the Alps to protect against the winter cold, but new products were created in Val Grisange, inspired by multicolored geometric designs. It used to be the men who worked the wool from their sheep on heavy maple loops. Draps are unique fabrics used by local people for clothing and furnishings. Eco-friendly wool is a recent rediscovery, washed and dyed using only natural products. The Valle d'Aosta's deep sense of identity is reflected in its regard for the past. Here, medieval architecture nestles in untouched natural surroundings, and villages blend into the landscape. Simply return to the banks of Dora Baltea and Saint-Pierre to admire the 14th century Sarriot de la Tour, by the great castle of Saint-Pierre, a symbol of the region. It has stood for over 1,000 years, transforming over the centuries from primitive fortress to lordly residence, culminating in a 19th century restoration inspired by a romantic ideal of a mythical medieval age. Saint-Pierre is now the location of the Regional Natural Science Museum. In Valpelline, like many other corners of the region, travellers come across herds of cattle that spend the summer grazing the high pastures. Surrounded by a series of rocky peaks and glaciers. The grass the cows eat gives their milk and its products all the qualities of uncontaminated nature.
C'è un passaggio effettivamente dei principi nutrizionali del...
The exceptional goodness in the rich, aromatic and highly nutritious mountain grass growing at altitudes of up to 3,000 feet pass into the milk and so into the cheese that we've associated with the Valle d'Aosta since the early centuries of the last millennium.
Secoli del millennio scorso, vale a dire dal 1200.
Suffice to say that written reports of Fontina have existed since around 1270 in official documents.
Nel 1480 è stato fatto una fresca.
In 1480, a fresco was painted in Nesogna Castle depicting cheeses identical to present-day Fontina.
Il toponimo, il patronimo
Over the course
Fontina
of successive centuries, the name Fontina was used more and more often. In 1955, the denominazione d'origine Fontina was recognized, but only for the Valle
denominazione
d'Aosta.
d'origine Fontina unicamente per la Valle d'Aosta.
Over 3 months, the thin, compact rind of the Fontina forms on the cheeses left to mature inside natural caves.
Bene, qua ci troviamo nella
Here we're in the entrance tunnel of an old copper mine. So we're standing in the heart of the mountain, where humidity and temperature remain constant throughout the year at around 10 degrees centigrade and almost 100% humidity.
saturazione. Questo è l'ambiente.
It's the ideal environment, ideal for the development of the outer skin of the cheese rind, and it's also ideal for the development of the cheese itself, which takes place over around 3 months, during which the staff salt and wipe the cheese surface daily.
Pianamente intervengono con la salatura e con degli strofinamenti superficiali.
The cheeses are transported by the little train that used to carry the copper extracted from the mines. The aromas in the air may have changed, but the route through the rocky labyrinth remains the same. From milk to finished product, Fontina is created almost in symbiosis with the mountain. The cheeses mature deep within the rock, resting on tables of red maple. The production methods are some of the strictest in Italian dairy making and demand careful checks. The protected designation of origin mark reflects the pointed shape of the cervino, the characteristic peak of Valle d'Aosta. A proud soaring eagle points the way towards the Gran San Bernardo Valley. There's another tradition well worth experiencing here in the festive atmosphere of Saint-Rémy-en-Beauce, near the Swiss border. Napoleon's soldiers passed through in 1800, and every year the village commemorates this event with a masked festival. This is the home of an ancient delicacy. Like Fontina, the jambon de Beauce has been awarded protected designation of origin status. The ham is obtained from a special breed of pig, and its taste derives from the use of pepper and mountain herbs. The hams mature in dark rooms where the hay is constantly replaced. This area at the foot of the Gran San Bernardo is the only place where jambon de Beauce is produced. The hams must be left for at least a year before they acquire the taste and appearance laid down by the production standards. The only Italian jambon, this typical cured ham has an unmistakable flavor, an unmissable offering in the region's gastronomic fairs. The Dora Baltea flows the length of the entire region. The Valle d'Aosta's principal river is a white water paradise to be challenged in a variety of ways. A true open-air water sports arena. Local professional associations offer a wide range of sporting activities. Many ride the currents on rubber rafts, a sport the Valle d'Aosta pioneered in Italy. The river carries travellers to the bankside villages. Morges is especially notable with its medieval castle, a cycle of frescoes in the parish church, and its surrounding woodland. In recent years, hydra speeding has enjoyed fast-growing success. With wetsuit, flippers and helmet, you shoot downstream on a kind of upturned bobsleigh. The sport originated in France in the 1970s and used to be considered a daredevil activity. In fact, its risks and difficulty depend on the strength of water chosen, and the Dora also offers waters suitable for beginners. Sport is also a constant passion at Courmayeur. In 1850, 64 years after the conquest of Monte Bianco, the first Italian mountain guide club was founded. One of Courmayeur's distinctive features is the sundials painted on its houses and buildings. They come in all kinds, antique and contemporary, serious and light-hearted. Courmayeur's winter season is a whirlwind of sport and nightlife. Spent on the slopes or sipping a cocktail while watching out for passing celebrities. But the mountain is the real star, with its immaculate slopes sparkling in the sunshine and breathtaking landscapes inviting visitors to climb ever higher. Cutting-edge ski lifts lead to the summit, and a series of pistes offer ideal snow cover and the opportunity to make your first halting descent or hurtle downwards in the wake of champions. Monte Bianco offers thrilling slopes to ski down or tranquil trails among the trees. Not far from Courmayeur, its summit looms over Val Ferret. Here, the cross-country ski trails wind among the conifers, crossing streams and clearings studded with small, silent hamlets. Monte Bianco isn't just a mountain. It's the roof of Europe. No other alpine peak can match its 4,810-meter height. The summer season also offers many ways of enjoying its breathtaking landscapes, from pony trekking to hiking, mountaineering and free climbing. Since the 18th century, Monte Bianco has attracted pioneers of mountain climbing ready to risk their lives to reach the summit. From Britain, France and across the Alps, courageous climbers blaze the trails that now lead modern explorers to the soaring heights. One of Aosta's illustrious sons was born among these peaks. Saint Anselm was a philosopher, and some say that his thought was influenced by the looming mountains. Seeing the sun constantly rise late and set early, and the effort needed to overcome the mountain's perils, are a metaphor for life's journey, often a laborious climb that demands help from others if we are to survive. Arriving at this destination means overcoming fatigue, but the Valle d'Aosta Alps will repay this effort with visions no dreams could create. Monte Bianco is a symbol of the strength of will displayed by men and women who were not cowed by its imposing presence, and whose courage won through without the aid of modern equipment that now saves the lives of so many climbers. Challenging the mountains of Valle d'Aosta is no longer a feat reserved for a few daring adventurers. The guide's assistance is vital to climbers' safety. The people of the Valle d'Aosta display many diverse linguistic and cultural identities, but they are bound by a common love for their mountains. Invisible cords tie the people, their history, victories, and defeats. These bonds have resisted the passage of time to become even stronger, encouraging men and women to accomplish feats once thought impossible. With its deeply rooted values, the Valle d'Aosta continues its journey, its gaze set on the heights and the future, never forgetting its unique, independent identity, a spirit protected by its snow-white peaks.